Okay, so section 3 of the revenue text talks a little bit about economy and supply and demand. So, I mean, as you can guess, and it shouldn't come as a big surprise to you, that the state of our economy is going to affect consumer confidence. And there's a lot of factors that go into it that's probably for an economics class, but in generally speaking, when we start to grow and consumers want to spend more, that helps us. So, in periods of recession or stagnant economy, then demand falls. And this is an ebb and flow thing, and there's some seasonality to it in many cases, and there's also just these factors that we could never really foresee that also play into it. So, again, as we talk about revenue management, it's always about, okay, we understand the customer, we also need to understand the economy as well. So, perceived value becomes critical, honestly, in up and down times. So when you have more competition and slow economic conditions, then it's pivotal and becomes even more critical for you to really understand revenue management and maximizing profit, occupancy, all these good things when it's, I guess you could say, a downtime. Listen, when it's busy, it's easy, right? But when it's not, how do you make the most of it? So we look at that from the standpoint. And, we talk about environmental scanning. You've probably heard this before, but it is those internal and external environments and opportunities and threats. SWOT analysis, right? Same thing. So now we look at the environment and what opportunities are there, what threats are there. And this is a constant day-to-day examination, if you will, to see what happens. A new hotel opens up down the street, or, the price of gas, or all these different things, consumers' willingness to travel. So, those external things. And that's the thing, externally, how much control do we have over that? Because it's external, usually not very much. But we still have to somehow make it work for us. So, as much as we can, we look at those external environmental factors and say, okay, how do we take advantage, is probably not the right word, but how do we, as much as we can, use this and, make money off of it? So again, PESTLE, if you've never heard of that, there's the what it stands for. And I would tell you that, if you can remember you're in good shape, because these are the things that we're talking about that are important to focus on and know. And listen, it's a lot. And sometimes maybe some of these things you have a problem with or don't agree with it. It doesn't really matter. It's business. So you've got to kind of weigh that in, you know what I mean? So that becomes important. So, yeah, that first statement obviously is self-explanatory. Cost of ingredients for a restaurant meal, the cost that goes into a guest room, right? All these different things that determine what the right price is to sell. And in some other slides, we'll talk about menu pricing specifically and why we charge what we charge and how we figure that out. So it becomes very, very important. Okay, not just go, well, I think the competition's charging this, so I should charge this. Recipe for failure if you do that. No pun intended with recipe. Labor costs. When we talk about menu food costs, beverage costs, and labor costs, those are the big three. And the labor cost issue becomes right people, right place, right time to give service, but also that number being so low that we still make money, because those costs are the biggest, easiest way to put it is, out of every dollar, the biggest costs come from labor and food and beverage expenses. And there are other obvious ones, but those are the ones that we always want. And then we feel like those are the ones that we can control. So I can staff, and if you're familiar with our restaurant jargon, cut people at the right time, or hotel, cut staff when it's not busy and overnight. or early, after breakfast. So again, you're looking at this and trying to figure out how you can do it and how much everybody makes, and making sure that they make enough that they don't want to leave, but also that we make money. So, you can take this other approach, which is the cost that is assigned to product, services, departments, the direct cost, and then they can't be assigned indirect cost. So it is taking a look at everything that we do, and it is having the ability to break it down and understanding, controlled and non-controlled. And then where can we adjust? Where can we take these numbers? Where can we manipulate? It's probably not the right word, but where can we capitalize on a busy time? If our hotel's completely full, our restaurant's completely full, our bar's completely full, whatever the case may be, a cruise ship's completely full, then it's a piece of cake, right? But what about when it's not? And how do we control this cost when there's nobody sitting in the restaurant? There's 2 people at the bar. So, we look at that all the time. And, materials mean everything. I've done tons of new unit openings, and it's like, okay, great, we spent all this money to open up the building, sometimes in the millions of dollars. Now, how do we recoup those costs? And what is our plan over time to make the money back that we spent to open this establishment? So, salary, I'll give you guys a secret. Some of you probably already know this. If your salary and your employees are hourly and things slow down, they're going home and you're staying, right? Because that's a different type of labor expense. So if you haven't seen that, you will. That's part of it. Laundry expense, table linen, very, very expensive cost for your hotel or your restaurant, and one that you need to control as much as you possibly can. So, all those things factor into it, as you can imagine. And then indirectly, rent, the GM salary, your energy costs, those things where, I can tell you that if you've ever been into a hotel room and you look at the thermostat and you go, I want it to go down lower, and it only goes down this low, or, why is the lighting like this at this time of the day? That is us controlling as much as we can our energy. You think about a 100-room hotel, air conditioners, showers, toilets, refrigerators, TVs, the amount of energy that is sucked into running a hotel. And it's estimated by some that, I'll use an example. Flushing the toilets in a 150-room hotel every day is enough to fill up an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So we want to figure out how to save energy and reduce waste as much as we can, to the extent that we can. And it may be with equipment, supplies, it may be in construction. I'm a big proponent of sustainability, so, if we're going to do that, that should save us some money as well. We talked about this. We've been talking about it a lot. So there's the definitions, and they are exactly what you think they are. And we play with those. It's great to know how much cost we have that's not going to change. And then we want to look at things that we can try to control, as I said, manipulate. And then semi-variable, we have a combination of both. So break even, right? And, remember, when we talk, we want to talk about beyond the bottom line and break even, like some top line thinking is what we want students, not just in our program, in the College of Business, to figure out is how can we go above and beyond. When you look at STAR reports, okay, now I know how I'm doing, how's everybody else doing? And what does it mean if I do this, and what does it mean if they do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, you need to break even, minimum, right? You don't want to lose money. So that's a point we have to look at. And you can look at that on a shift-by-shift basis, monthly, weekly, daily, quarterly, whatever the case may be. You want to look at that and see how you're doing relative. There may be a point one day where you don't. That's fine. What happens the next day? So, and then about supply and demand. We don't really need to sit there and go over those verbatim. You understand what they are. But desire to purchase, ability to pay, willingness to pay. So think about those 3 statements. yeah, I want to do this and I'm willing to pay, but I'm only willing to pay this much. And as I said, that is us trying to figure out what that is. We make money and you perceive that that's a good value and that you have no problem spending $700 a night for this hotel room, or $25 for this pizza, or $9 for this beer, whatever the case may be. And so, as I said, it's a thing that happens, and it's very fluid, and you have to go in and you have to look, and you really have to know the environment and what's going on. And there, like when you hotel rooms and what they can charge and what they do charge fluctuates wildly daily, weekly, monthly, annually, depending on, volume, environmental conditions, externally, internally, demand, supply, all these different things. And as a revenue manager, you're capitalizing on that and figuring out, you price yourself so high, you price yourself out of the market. Then what good is it that everybody else is full and it's busy? No one's staying at your property.